likes of Minna, the Niger state capital, to protest the high cost of living. Protesters blocked major roads within the metropolis in the morning, lamenting the rising cost of food items and government's inability to arrest the situation. Attempts by the deputy governor and his team to address the crowd were at first not productive. Eventually, he was able to get through to the protesters.
His Excellency received a report this morning that yes, there is a group of youths and women that are protesting about the issue of economic hardship. And already the council is on the process. He directed me, the advisor political and the commissioner for local governments, to go and address the youths, because the issue they comes up with is about issue of hunger. And already in one of the items of discussion in the council is about issue, how do you cushion the economic hardship of the entire state? And how do you relate with the federal governments to ensure that yes, some policy that will come with human face, that our people will not be in languishing of this added poverty. So we have gone there and we have addressed the youths that actually we are discussing to see how we can bring issue of palliative around the state, not only a segment of people that are protesting. And I want to tell you that yes, not since some few days to come, the state government will see into action to ensure that yes, we elevate the issue so that this protest will not continue.
However, later in the day, the governor, Mr. Umar Bago, addressed residents of the state in a broadcast.
The federal government has shown interest. I've spoken to the vice president, I've spoken to the NSA on the current situation, and we're on top of it. We have also sent a lot of security apparatuses to locations where we think are vulnerable.
He also announced a ban on mass purchase of grains from local markets in the state.
Trucks who come to park or buy foodstuffs from our villagers in bulk should be halted for now. We have stopped mass purchase from our local market in all our local government from now henceforth until further notice. Anybody found doing that, we have given security agencies go ahead to confiscate those trucks and share the food to the people.
The state administration also condemned the actions of those who speculate and hoard food in an attempt to profit from future price increase.
All right, welcome back. Yes, indeed, those are the issues. Some of the issues we'll be highlighting this morning. We've got Honorable Dennis Agbo here with us. He is was the Labour Party candidate for the just concluded supplementary elections. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, quite a number of things going on in the country. We've seen the National Assembly try to invite different persons, from security to the economic management team. Even the Speaker is scheduled to also speak on some of these issues here today. The government did say they hear the people, they're doing something, but what the people see and feel out there different from what they're saying. What is your impression about this?
Good morning, Nigerians. The situation is hard for Nigerians right now. Things are difficult. Prices are high. Incomes are low. Salaries are fixed. The prices are rising. So hardship has set in. Cost of living is increasing. Income is fixed. So standard of living is falling. And Nigerians want to see something concrete and coherent being done. If there is such move by government, then Nigerians can exercise patience and maybe wait on, because these things have taken time to bring us to where we are now. Government can have time. Government has been able to proclaim a few things that look, sound as if they want to tackle the problem, or as if they understand that there's hardship in the land. But it has not been matched by the same amount of action. A while ago, some months ago, I was in this studio and we were talking about palliatives. And my position then, which remains my position now, is that the best palliative is to increase food supply and reduce the cost or the prices of goods out there in the market. That is the best palliative.
But so, that doesn't happen like that.
But when we discussed this was like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
If concrete action has started taking place, we would have started seeing results by now. There are certain many food items take like 3 months to grow and bring to the marketplace. But farmers still do not feel safe in the farms. There are still attacks on farmers that try to go to farm. We have to put more land under cultivation. That is how to increase food production.
So you've heard, I imagine, some of the managers of the economic team, both on the monetary and fiscal policy side, talk about the kind of policies and measures that they're putting in place. They keep saying that we are better today than we were yesterday. I know jury's out on that one. But as someone who's played in that sector and still does, by the way, so what's your assessment of some of these policies and their impression of the policies that they say they're putting in place?
We are not better today, definitely, and every Nigerian knows it. We are not better today. How are we better? You need food to eat. You need a house to live in. You need shelter over your head. You need your life to be improved upon. Are we eating better? Do we feel better? The reality is we are not better today. But if they are saying there are plans afoot to make the life of Nigerians better, then it can be discussed. But definitely, a change of government happened last year, and so that's at least a milestone to gauge whether we were better in that last government or better now.
I think when they talk about us being better, they're not talking about the living standard of the Nigerian. They're talking about as a nation economically.
How do you measure the?
How do you measure the?
No, I'm asking you. How then do you measure the standard of a nation, if not the quality of lives of the people? So I think that the constitution that we have, it says that the key responsibility of government is the welfare and security of the people. Welfare and security of the people.
I want to take you up on palliative.
Yes.
So there's so many engagements going on right now. Oh, we're working on it. We're doing something about it. What you've been in that sector. You're still in that sector. What should they be doing right now that will yield results in the nearest possible time for Nigerians? Because it's getting really hot out there.
Yes. Now, what I think, I have an idea I call the National Agricultural Development Initiative. It's like a Marshall Plan. It's like proclamation of a state of emergency on food production in Nigeria. We have what it takes. What that means is that prioritize the agricultural sector. Prioritize it in terms of resource allocation, in terms of the allocation of our revenue. Put attention there. Make the farmers to go back. Secure them. Even if you have to move our security forces to the farms, there are thousands of hectares or even kilometers of land, arable farmlands in Nigeria. In Niger State, you have them. Every other place in Nigeria, just scratch the ground, you can cultivate anything. Secure these farmers. In Benue, you have them. So go secure the farmers who want to go to the farm and farm. They don't feel safe. And when farmers are killed in the farm, government does not take such an action as to this is the very thing that threatens their national security.
In your view, when is the turnaround time for this sort of intervention? When will people start to see a better standard of living based on your submission?
Start the journey. When you start the journey, you begin to make progress. You don't sit in one place and begin to complain. Just start the journey. Let me give you an example. If you map this country into areas of best fit, there are states that are very good in the production of certain agricultural items. Map that state. Encourage them. Give them seedlings. Give them fertilizer. Support the state government to get into massive commercial agricultural production of these particular flagship agricultural produce items. Let that start happening. Let us begin to see government say, okay, Niger State is good for this. Kebbi State is good for rice. Niger State is good for, Benue State is good for millet, sorghum, maize. Where is good for cassava? Enugu State is good for cassava.
You mean like working as economic zones for
yes, that is mapping the Nigeria into areas of best fit. There are states that are very good for even vegetables, even tea, like Taraba, like Cross River. Map this, begin to do those things. So, and then begin to take action, begin to clear the land. Let us see tractors get into place, clearing about 10 square kilometers of land. So 20 square kilometers of land. Let us see action. It's not just by...
Speaking about action.
Yes.
Why do you think, because at the moment, I'm not sure if you ask 10 people, they can confidently tell you what the states are doing or what role they're playing in this regard. Why does it come across that way, that they just seem to wait for the center?
What I mean is this, it's going to be a partnership.
Between federal government and the states?
Yes, definitely, because if I say that encourage states to get into heavy commercial production of certain flagship produce, what I mean is bring a state governor, begin to discuss with him, how much land can we get? Where can we clear this amount, this size of land? Where does it exist? What do you require? How can we partner? What do you bring on the table? We can give you seedlings, we can give you fertilizer, we can give you land preparation. But then how do you mobilize the workforce to get in there, employ the youths, parcellate the land?
Are you living out
models of agricultural production that we can easily implement? And when you start doing it, when we start hearing it, when we start seeing such things on TV, in reality, not just in discussion, then Nigerians will begin to say something is happening.
But how do you mainstream the private sector in that discussion?
The private sector is really supposed to take the front seat, and I tell you how. There are agri companies. I know a number of companies that got involved in massive production of agricultural produce in Niger State. They were attacked. Their staff were killed. They lost so much. Nothing happened to them. That is how to encourage them, bring them, discuss with them, not create another opportunity for sleaze, for stealing, but discuss realistically with them with a view to helping them. In that way, they will be encouraged to go back and continue producing. If there is flood and farmlands are destroyed, don't just turn your back. This is people's money. And the private sector will want government to come in at that particular point in time and proclaim some kind of emergency, and then support them through that, because a private company willing to get into agricultural production can become so discouraged that they may not even return to the farm again if they have lost all their investment in one flood event.
So let's get some legal perspectives now, because I mean, looking at some reports that are making the rounds about courts asking federal government to fix prices of goods, address inflation in 7 days. So it raises questions concerning, okay, how is this supposed to work actually? Can they do that? So we're joined now by Mr. Monday Obani, who is the former second vice president of the NBA and chair of SPDL. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Now, this court decision, people still trying to internalize this in terms of the dynamics of how that is going to play. And first of all, I know they cited the Price Control Act. Could you talk to us about how come, if this had been there all the while, nobody went to test the law up until recently, and now that this is coming through, is this enforceable?
Thank you, Chamberlain. First and foremost, congratulations for Super Eagles' superlative performance last night. I'm so excited, and I know every Nigerian is very excited about it. We're happy, even if it's for 24 hours. Now, back to the question. That law has been in our law books, but we have not been able to activate it, just like several other laws that are in our law books, which the government have actually refused to comply with. So what has happened is that a public interest litigator in the person of Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, went to court and then through an originating summons and then asking that the federal government should be compelled to really enforce that law, provision of the law that has been there, Price Control Act, has been there, Laws of the Federation 2004. And then it creates a price control board that's supposed to fix prices of items in Nigeria. But over time, you see the level of impunity in terms of inflationary rate. Yesterday, I wanted to buy banana. I was on my way back from work. The banana that I used to buy for 300, 500, the woman told me 2,000. Despite all my plea, the woman refused to comply in giving me that particular banana for 1,500. She insisted on 2,000, and I was so shocked. The same thing with cement, the same thing with everything in the market. In fact, there is this Yoruba cap I made 2 months ago for 5,000 naira. The woman was asked to do a new one for me, and she told me 10,000 naira. And I was asking why. He said because of cost of materials. Everything has really skyrocketed, and Nigerians are taking advantage of it. And when you ask them, they use the benchmark of dollar now, and even ordinary woman that says tomato and orange tells you that dollar, is the reason for the price increase. So it's like there is madness in the land. And so Femi Falana felt that this is the right thing to do. If there is a law, that law must be complied with by the government, and has gone to court.
So the thing about that too is that, Mr. Bani, now it did mention prices of goods and petroleum products. But we all know that in this country we're grappling with the question of deregulation. So if the court is asking them to do this, and then we're talking on the other hand, deregulate the sector to allow market forces, which they say will ultimately allow for investors to come in so that they can ensure they make profit while they come in. Because if you're regulated the industry, they say, look, it can't be profitable for business. Isn't this going to fly in the face of that economic policy or reason, so to speak?
Can I explain the position of things? In that Price Control Act, petroleum products were mentioned as part of the item that government should actually regulate. Now, if you are saying you are now deregulating that particular sector, then there must be a law that will now say that that particular section of the law should not be applicable. But there is no such any amendment to the law that says petroleum product is clearly outside the provision of that law. The law mentioned all the items. If you find out that particular judgment, it mentioned almost all the items that was included in that law that the government should fix price, including bicycle and the spare parts. If you read that judgment, the judge mentioned all that. It is in the schedule of that particular act where all those products were itemized that government should always fix prices. So if you're now saying you are deregulating and petroleum product is outside the Price Control Act, then there should be a law that would have negatived it. But there's none presently. And so that's why the judge went ahead to make that particular pronouncement. So if the government now had even filed any counter affidavit and said, look, of all the products there, that petroleum products should be out of it, there was none. There was no response. And they were served the court process and there was no response from them. And that's why the court now say, in the absence of any counter, in the absence of any contrary opinion from the government concerning what the reliefs that the applicant was seeking for, the court now agreed that all the reliefs must be granted. So I think it is the fault of the government who has not come forward to say that this particular item is not supposed to be regulated.
Mr. Albani, I heard you say earlier that people are taking advantage of the situation. And we've heard this also from government, so people are taking advantage of the situation. In what way? What do you mean by that? Are we saying that is it Nigerians that are doing this, or is it government officials? When they say we're taking advantage of the situation, how so? Fine.
The government's supposed to regulate prices. If you remember that during the former head of state, and I'm talking about Murtala Muhammad's regime went, with the military and was trying to enforce prices in Nigeria. Right? We experienced it even in the 70s and 80s. There was some level of government intervention in the price of things in Nigeria. It got a stage that government does not in any way show interest in issue of inflation, issue of price fixing, and the law has always been there. And so I'm saying that people now look at the government's non-interference. Government not showing any interest in fixing prices in order to. The woman you buy tomato today, you come back tomorrow, she tells you that, maybe begin to side dollar and then increase her price. I told you that I just want to make a cap now. A cab 2 months ago was 5,000 naira. But the woman told me that it is now 10,000. That is 100% increase. Who regulates? Nobody regulates. So if there is no government regulatory policy in place in fixing prices, people now take undue advantage of that and begin to give you any price that, what of cement? As of January, cement was 5,000 plus. But today, cement is 7,000. Who is regulating this? Who is asking them? It is not proper. It's not right. What is the parameter you are using from 5,000 in January and we are now in February? It is now 7,000 naira. So it's pure madness. So I think that government must, the court has now ordered within 7 days, the government that is very interested in making sure that lives of people are better will intervene in this particular process and obey the court judgment and say, let's now begin to fix prices on items. And that's the best thing for them to do. And I think that the government that loves Nigerians will want to do that. So I don't hope they're going to go on appeal over this particular good judgment.
This presidential committee that has been set up to take a look at, food security in the country, one of the things that we heard them talk about was distribution of food items. What do you make of that? Yes. There are many people who do not agree with that, that style of palliative giving. What do you think about that solution that they've come up with? Opening up storage facilities, distributing food?
Now, is it going to be a perennial thing or something that is temporary? You see, if you begin to map government policies on a temporary basis, it's ad hoc. It does not solve any problem. Just as we are talking about dollar, that we are, putting money into the system and all that, after which we still go back to the issue. If we do not produce dollar, we keep on going. If we are not exporting anything, we keep on importing. So I think that we should look for a more permanent solution by government. The more permanent solution is one, somebody is talking about agriculture. What is government policy on agriculture? We have very large expanse of land in Nigeria, but Nigeria is dying of hunger. Why is it like that? Other countries that do not have much land are feeding themselves and exporting. Why is it that Nigeria have all over the state, all over the country, but we are not going back to agriculture? What is government policy on agriculture? These are issues so that we can do something that is more permanent, something that is more enduring. So because you don't do this policy of doing 1 or 2 or 3 months, after which we go back to hunger. So I believe that government should be interested in a permanent solution. I don't want any ad hoc measures that can only keep you, busy for only 2 or 3 months, after which we'll go back to our, basics. So I think that more permanent solution is what is required at this point. Solution is what is required at this point. Solution is what is required at this point.
All right, let me come to Mr. Agbo in our Abuja studio. Well, Mr. Agbo, you were saying some interesting things the other time, what government needs to do and all of that. There are a number of people watching you and listening who will be wondering, hey, it's easy for us to say, that this is what government needs to do. But then at the end of the day, everything comes back to the political class. It is the political class that is in government. That has to work with civil servants to ensure good governance for the people. It is the same political class that Timberlake mentioned the other time in the states who are supposed to do one thing or the other that do not do the things that is expected of them. It is the same political class that is supposed to foster collaboration between the federal government and the state government. The economic sustainability plan comes to mind, for instance, of that the government came up with in the light of, in the twilight of COVID-19, saying that the federal government and the state government should collaborate with lands to cultivate the land, in agricultural products for Nigerians. Find out from any governor or any state government. That collaboration, I don't know if it ever took off. Speak to that, Mr. Abu. Just 1 second, if you can hear me. Just 1 second. On that issue, we have a federal Minister of Agriculture, but he does not have authority over the ministries of agriculture in the states. We have a federal... Every
ministry of government has a council.
Please.
That's a council on agriculture.
Just 1 second. We have states who control their lands that the federal government does not have authority over unless you are asking for a law that will amend that so that the federal government can control the lands. That is why that collaboration is crucial. What, in your opinion, is hindering that collaboration? Because without it, it's just going to be another talk shop here.
See, even if you want to collaborate, even if you want to do something with the states, there are states that are not ready. Not every state has a serious governor. So there are those that are saying, I want to put 20 square kilometers of land under cultivation for cassava. All I need help for clearing this land. I need improved seedlings. I need fertilizer. This is my plan. This is how much it will take. This is how many people can be employed in this plan. This is how much food we can bring out. How many tons of cassava that we can bring out. How many tons of rice we can bring out. How many tons of maize we can bring out. Human beings in Nigeria now, Nigerian citizens are competing with the chicken in the poultry farms, with pigs for our staple food. Why is it that maize has become so scarce that poultry feed now, the price has hit the roofs? So we need to produce, because even when you move from cultivation of food items, you also come to animal husbandry. These animals, they need food to eat. There are things to do to improve both the cultivation of food items and then also even the growing of animal husbandry.
You cited something the other time about the states and the regions coming together to maximize their regional potential. You know, Saudis come together, South come together, and all of that. Mr. Ubani, let me come to you on that. You know, going by the suggestions that Mr. Abo is making, speak to that in the light of this law that we are speaking to, the Price Control Act. It goes straight in the face of deregulation, doesn't it?
Yes, the issue is that collaboration by the state and federal is very critical for us to get out of the present quagmire in which we're in. And I think you have hammered so much about that. That collaboration is very key. The federal and states should declare what we call state of emergency, especially on the issue of food prices and issue of food items. Nigerians are hungry. They want to eat, even if it's 2 square meals a day. Let it be that we have capacity to produce the amount of food that Nigerians consume. So that collaborative effort between the commissioners of agriculture and the minister of agriculture, between the state government and the federal government, in order to ensure that we produce enough to consume in this country. And if possible, have it even for export. Because this dollar thing we are talking about is that we're exporting nothing. We are relying only on one product, and that is petroleum product. And we are not in any way relying any other source in order to export, in order to boost our foreign exchange. So it is important that collaborative effort is there. Now, the court judgment is saying the federal government has a board. That board is supposed to fix prices on items. I have no doubt in my mind that this fine attorney general that is there, that is Latif Fagbemi, senior advocate of Nigeria, is one of the best lawyers in this country, and he has come in order to ensure that government respects rule of law. He will be part of the committee they have set up now, and part of the recommendation is, look, the court has made an order. Involve yourself in price fixing. Let's begin to look at prices and look at the madness in terms of price increase. You know, you go to market today, tomorrow, you go to market, they're telling you almost 100% increase. And nobody gives you any reason for that. Even though some people will
Mr. Ubani, while I understand, my apologies, while I understand what you're saying, do you see the federal government appealing this judgment? And here is why. There are other laws, PIA, for instance, that talks about full deregulation of the petroleum sector. If we begin to fix prices, we are automatically, invariably, one way or the other, asking for a thriving black market. So do you see the federal government appealing this law so that we do not create a chaos, some kind of judicial chaos that could spiral out of control?
I don't know what the Attorney General of the Federation want to do with regards to this particular judgment. You know what I said before is that petroleum product happens to be in the list of that particular law as one of those things that the federal government should regulate. Now, in the light of the PIA, you have just mentioned that now they regulated that industry. I don't know whether they will now probably ask the appeal court to look into that particular judgment that was undefended and say, look, it is not part of the item that should be regulated by the government because of the regulation policy of the federal government. But most importantly, Ayo, there must be some level of intervention by the government on issue of food prices. No matter whether it is deregulated and all that, there must be some level of intervention to really make sure that people do the right thing. Even the petroleum products we are talking about, we have agreed we have deregulated it. Most times, even when the crude price, the crude oil, the crude itself, falls in the market, the prices keep on rising. You begin to wonder what is going on, because we are not even producing, we are not, using our crude. We are not doing anything about by refining it here. We are still exporting our crude and then importing, and that's why the prices of the petroleum product will keep on rising. So the government must come by way of intervention. I don't know how they want to do it. But Nigerians are now saying that the government should not allow prices of things to keep on, going up without any measure of intervention. Not necessarily coming to say, oh, product is going to be 16 naira. No.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
unfortunately, Mr. Obani, just 1 second. Unfortunately, it would seem like the value addition part that you spoke to now, that we export crude and import refined products, it's about the same thing that happens in almost every sector in the country. We export cocoa, for instance, and we have to import chocolate and all of that. But let me ask you what you think of the communication process of the federal government. I think about a month or two into this federal government last year, they came up with a state of emergency, declaring a state of emergency on agriculture or on food security. And the president mentioned some thousands of hectares of land that have been acquired one way or the other. How far that goes up until now, people are wondering what exactly is happening. Do you see communication as a problem that is also responsible for this unrest in the society? Because perhaps if there's been sufficient communication between government and the people, maybe things would have eased a little.
Yeah, I'm not making an excuse for this government, but the little I know about them is that most of the things they are doing now within this 6 months period, will create some level of hardship, But the long-term effect, if they implement all the things they have told Nigerians, those things will begin to cushion, the prices of things and whatever measures, that are causing hardship, will begin to reduce. But the most important thing, as you rightly pointed out, is the issue of communication. If you don't talk to the people, if you don't tell them what you are doing in the circumstance at the moment, they will begin to feel that nothing is being done. So the communication, aspect you've mentioned is very critical and key. The government should be able to tell us, when you came in, you made pronouncement that you are going to tackle this, that this issue of the regulation will go on because we are going to make more money in order to deal with other economic issues that have been worrying Nigeria. Now, how much money has been generated by this removal of subsidy? Because you told us they're going to make so much money from the removal. How much have been generated? How much have you plugged back in reducing the economic hardship on Nigerians? That has not been done. So I think that the communications skill of the government have to increase in order to tell Nigerians what they are doing, in order to really make sure that things are normal in the system. It's very important. I agree with you. For now, we don't know what has happened, but I know that something is being done by this federal government in order to reduce the level of hardship on Nigerians.
All right, so Honorable Agbo, I did ask if this is enforceable, because how is government expected to fix prices of goods they didn't produce?
I really think that regulation is not the way to go now. We have left the regime of regulation. We are in a free market now. What government needs to do is to create policies that will unleash products out there in the market and bring down the food prices, bring down general price of items. Going back to talk about price regulation, I don't even know, I'm not a lawyer. Government. Today in Nigeria, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Every other state in Nigeria has a governor. There are people in positions. So if you talk about political class, it is just fluid. The buck stops at the president's table. He has his work cut out for him. He has work to do. If he needs collaborating with states, let him go ahead and collaborate with the states. If he needs to collaborate with the state, let him go ahead and do that. Because we are in an emergency situation and we need to get out here and get out fast. What I am saying is practicable. very practical. There is a minister for agriculture. There are special advisors on agriculture. There are other
well, Mr. Agbo,
political office holders of government.
Permit me to
around the area of agriculture. Let them go to work. Let them be given targets. Let them be told what to do. Let them be given expectations of the people, and let them, deliver or have them replaced.
Well, just one moment on that particular issue, Mr. Agbo.
I didn't know that law is still there, but we have long left the regime of regulation. My brother, the lawyer, who is talking about this thing, mentioned about the military regime of Murtala Mohammed. I don't know whether we are still talking about this military regime. No, I think there are policies. If you bring your banana to the market and there's surplus banana in the market and you find that you couldn't sell because your price is too high and people had bought from your neighbors and they have gone home, tomorrow you bring down your price. Let prices be regulated by the availability of the produce. And so it's a demand and supply kind of thing. That's the economics I understand. The economy of fixing prices and telling somebody that when he goes to exchange dollar for 1,500 naira, he should come and sell his banana at a certain price, and the clothes he has to, the pen he's going to buy for his children, the exercise book and everything, they have all hit the roofs. And then you bring everybody and say, okay, queue up here. This is how you are going. This is how much you are going to sell. This. I don't understand that economics, and I wish I do. But the economics I know is the economics of free market. It's the economics of demand and supply. The free forces of interplay between demand and supply.
That takes time. And if you talk to people from government right now, they will say, oh, we are working on the policies right now to ensure that this free market actually brings things down. That takes time. In the interim, you don't think that's, regulating prices will discipline people who are taking advantage of the situation?
How practicable is regulating prices? Because so that we don't just finish talking and nothing happens. How practicable is it to regulate prices? But what is practicable is unleashing. There are things we can do. We have the land. Arable land. We can encourage farmers, support them. The one thing with government in Nigeria is that they think that supporting farmers is like giving them being father. Every other nation, to feed your people, you must have to encourage the farmers. You must give them guaranteed offtake. Every product that they bring to the market, you must buy it off them at stable prices. Then you can, let me tell you another thing what government can do. If you have purchased the items from the primary producers and you have created silos and so on, and you now think that the prices are too high, you can push your own into the market to stabilize the prices. Those are the things that government can do.
Well, since you said you didn't even know that law is still there, maybe the lawmakers may have to have another look at some of these kind of laws to see what they can do if it's not going to work.
I don't think that lawmakers will as a lawmaker, I don't think I want to start taking Nigeria back again to regulating prices. By fire.
Well, thank you for coming on, Honorable Dennis Agbo. It was Labour Party candidate for the just concluded supplementary elections, and Mr. Monday Obani, former second vice president of the NBA and chair Speedel. Thank you both for coming on today. So is this policy going to be, thank you. Is this policy good for business? But I know that this time is business time, actually. So.